So, welcome to my channel. In this video I will show you new nodes which I have created for grease pencil. So for animation nodes, and these nodes allow you to get grease pencil data into the animation nodes, and or you can also convert the animation node data or any kind of vector data into the grease pencil strokes. And I have provided the compiled build of animation nodes for Linux, but if you using different operating system, then you have to install these extra nodes manually. And I have updated the animation nodes on my GitHub page, so now it has all the changes which Blender 2.8 branch of the animation nodes. So for manually, you copy this new node folder into the nodes folder of your animation node, and you have to also copy this G pencil folder into the data structure, and in the sockets you have to copy this layer, stroke and object files. Means copy these files into these sockets, and if you want this category in the UI for grease pencil, replace this node menu file with the new node menu file from my GitHub page. So this is the grease pencil data structure. At first level we have a grease pencil object, then we have layers, and each layer we have frames, and each frame have different number of strokes, and each stroke, for example, has points. So this is how this grease pencil data structure works. Okay, now grease pencil is a combination of mesh and spline object, curve object. So I keep the nodes structure according to the mesh and the curves. So the first three nodes allow you to get the stroke data. So first node gives you the layer, means all layers, or layer you can select on index based on the index or the name of the layer, and then on that layer at the active frame or the frame you select based on the index, you get the strokes, or you can also choose the stroke index. For example, in this we have 3 strokes, you can select them based on the index. Then this node gives you the data of the stroke, total points, then strength, then pressure. Pressure is basically the size of the stroke. For example, here the pressure is small, then it goes to 1 almost, and then it becomes small. And then UV rotation, then line width, cyclic, stroke is cyclic, star cap, end cap, and material index. And these two nodes allow you to convert any kind of vector data into a grease pencil stroke, then you can apply this stroke to a existing grease pencil object. Don't use this blank object, but use this stroke object. And you can use here, for example, particle locations, mesh vertices, or any kind of vector data. And suppose you want to combine multiple strokes, then it automatically add the stroke to the object you select here. And this works perfectly for lines, means if the material has lines. But if the material you want with dots, then make sure that the object which you are going to select here should have that number of strokes you going to input. Suppose you want to input 2 strokes, and make sure that the object has 2 strokes before manually, because for dots this don't work. For now, this is maybe the bug in the API, I'm not sure, and I didn't find any solution on the internet, means why this is not working for points. So I asked to the grease pencil developer. So when this fixed this problem, this dots problem, then I'm going to add more feature to this grease pencil object output node that I will discuss in the end of this video. And these nodes allow you to change the different properties of the stroke, means you can change the display mode, material index of the stroke, line width, end cap, start cap, cyclic, and you can transfer the stroke. And all these nodes are vectorized, means all these nodes have vectorized sockets. So I'll show you different examples based on these and these nodes. So when you download this zip file, it has this all nodes blend file, and then 8 examples. So I'll show you first example. Okay, just I off the. So here I have this grease pencil object. It has 2 frames, and each frame has 2 strokes. And I want data, means I want the point locations of these strokes. So I use object input node and get the lines, because these strokes are on the lines layer. So first layer, which is lines, and then I get all the strokes of the active frame, because we have 2 strokes. So I use loop to get the data of all the strokes. So here is, so in the next active frame, because this object has 2 frames, this one. Even if you add another one, suppose I add something here, then it will give you the data of that stroke. Or you can select the stroke data, for example, and select the stroke based on the index. So in the next example, okay, first I hide the target object. I have this stroke and this grease pencil object which has 2 strokes at this frame, and the next frame also have these strokes, and I want to convert these stroke data into a spline, into a curve object. So similar steps, I get the total strokes at the active frame, then I use loop, and here I am converting the points into the spline and using the pressure of these stroke points as a radii of the spline. So if you do that, then you have this spline, and using spline you can also resample these existing stroke points like this and use this radii as input of this spline and this radii of this spline. See, you can change now the number of, resample the existing stroke points. You can also adjust based on the length of this spline if you want. So now you can convert the grease pencil data into a spline, or you may also convert into a mesh object using loft or these nodes. Here is loft or revolve node. And then we have third example. So this is very interesting. So these are the input stroke object. Okay, so here I want to change this size of, or basically the pressure or size of this point, and also the strength basically control the transparency of the stroke. So I first get the same using loop strokes, then I got the points, and I make a new stroke object using G pencil stroke output node using same point locations, but I'm giving the strength and pressure based on the fall of node. So if I hide this and on the output stroke object, and you can see if I move the empty, you have this, you can create this kind of effect or control the transparency, strength or pressure based on this fall of node. Now suppose you want to change the material of these strokes, then go to this grease pencil and add material index. As I said, these nodes are vectorized, so you can change the material for all the strokes. Suppose if you want to change the materials or set the material individually, now in this case we have 6 materials. So if I create this integer list or index list, then we can assign the materials individually to these strokes. And so the next example is, this is very simple. Here I'm converting the spline points into the grease pencil stroke. So you can make them cyclic, start cap, flat or round, or change the material. If your output object has multiple materials, then you can assign them based on the material index. So this way, grease pencil nodes, now you can bring the grease pencil data into the animation nodes, or you can convert the animation node data into this grease pencil objects. So in the next example, okay, here changing the UV rotation of the output stroke. So first I will show you the input stroke. So this is the input stroke. So it has this texture material, and I'm using the point strength and pressure of this input stroke for output stroke, but changing the UV rotations based on this random number, and I apply the same material for this stroke as we have in the input stroke, same texture material. So now you can change the UV rotations of these textures. And in the next example is, so this is similar to the example which I showed for the curve or spline object. Here I am converting the random vectors into the grease pencil stroke. So, and changing the strength and pressure based on the length of these vectors. Suppose if I delete this object and add a new stroke object, by default it has this stroke, then we not need to draw this for dots. So if I change to dots, okay, sorry, I have to change for red material. See, so you can convert the random vectors into a grease pencil stroke. So the next example, in this example I'm converting the particle locations into the grease pencil stroke. So if I play the animation, you can see the particles, but now the grease pencil particles. So in this way you can convert the or make grease pencil particles. Now suppose if I want to control also the size of these grease pencil dots, and if I change and increase the size a little bit, and so can directly use this size as a pressure. So we have grease pencil particles or dots with different size. So this is very powerful. You can convert any kind of particles into a grease pencil particles. And the last example is, here suppose you are drawing some kind of making some drawing, and you want particles or other lines around that strokes you are drawing, then you can use this node tree to do that. So for this black stroke, I got the points of this black stroke, then I randomize based on these vectors, and I create a new stroke, and then finally into the new grease pencil object. So now if I go to here, now you can see it automatically drawing the points around that stroke. Even if I draw a new one, suppose, then it will draw to the points around that new stroke. Suppose if I add new one, okay. So these are the nodes for grease pencils in the current version. And if you like this work, then please do support me. And when I get this problem fixed for the dots, then I'm going to add a new feature to this output object. Means you can select or make a new layer, then a new grease pencil, a new frame for this stroke or individual strokes, Another node I'm going to add is which will allow you to assign the materials or create new materials within the animation nodes. So please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more updates. If you have any suggestion or query, you can ask me in the comment section of this video, or you can also ask me on my Twitter account or on Instagram. I have provided the links for all these examples and for all these nodes. And until next time, happy noding. Bye.